Hey everybody, we're back for another episode of the Journey Up, an Entrepreneur's Guide. I'm your host, Bryce. I am a licensed real estate broker as well as managing partner for Anabasis REIT and for Anabasis Realty here in Jacksonville, Florida, joined by my co-host,
Brylen. I am the lead associate at Anabasis Realty and the acquisitions manager at Anabasis REIT.
As always, if you guys have any interest in real estate in Jacksonville, Florida, or any questions regarding investing in real estate or anything of that nature, give us a buzz. However, we have something really special for you guys today. We're really excited for the 11th episode of the Journey Up, an Entrepreneur's Guide. We have some entrepreneurs on today that have started an amazing company local here to Jacksonville, Bluebird Hardwater, and we're excited to hear a lot about what you guys have in store for us. So joined by Trevor Shanton, if you could give us a little introduction, and your partner as well.
Yes, absolutely. My name is Trevor Shanton. I'm one of the co-founders of Bluebird Hardwater, based out of here in Jacksonville Beach, Florida.
Yeah, and I'm Will Blum, co-founder of Bluebird Hardwater and CEO currently.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being here today, guys. I really, really appreciate it. And you guys have an amazing product. As you know, off camera, we got to test it a little bit. So
we got to test it on camera now.
Yeah, we'll test it on camera. But obviously, base to the show, Journey Up, Entrepreneur's Guide. We want to hear from you guys in your story in life, because obviously you don't just wake up one day and start a company from the ground up. There's a lot of things that happen along the way. There's highs and lows, pitfalls. Where are you guys from? Where were you born? What were your interests originally, and how did you even get to where you're at today and what you're doing now?
Yeah. You want to kick us off?
I'll kick it off. I'm from Jackson, Wyoming, kind of a random area, but grew up kind of fortunately under a big entrepreneur. So my dad was a huge entrepreneur, so I knew my whole life that eventually after college I would start my own company, which might be a unique kind of, I guess, travel to being in entrepreneurship, because that's all I knew growing up, and that's all I saw my father do, so that's what I wanted to do.
What does he do?
His first big company was called buy.com. It was the original e-commerce platform. So but way back in the day, in like 1990s, they started e-commerce, selling computer parts to computer people.
In the .com boom.
Yeah, and then they started, that's why it's like buy.com. He had like buy music, buy golf. He did all these stuff, and he started selling books eventually. And then he ended up selling that business, and then he's done a bunch of other ones. Office space company called TechSpace. And then we did another one. The biggest one right now is called Luxury Credit Card. We still own that one.
Okay.
And it's luxury credit card. Like it's the Amex version of a personal credit card. So it's a personal like luxury card if you're using it for yourself instead of for a business.
Sweet. Very interesting. So would you say that that's kind of where you got your drive and passion to want to become an entrepreneur yourself?
I would say he really put me on the path of like all of his kind of like, I always call startups, they have like multiple phases. Like they have the point where you launch a business where like everyone knows it exists. Like we've launched Bluebird for a year and a month now. That's when people know it's a business. But prior to that, it was 2 years of development work.
Of course.
That's where I spent a lot of my time early on, was like doing development work. We launched a social media app together. I got to work at TechSpace, buy.com. I got to work at a company called Yoga Today, which was the actual original workout subscription online.
Interesting.
About 15 years ago, yeah.
What was that app that you were working on?
It was called Bump. And it was, the concept was instead of having followers, it was a digital white space, like a whiteboard for your location. So if you're in Jacksonville and you pull it up, it would be like, I'm doing like X, I'm going to the Jaguars game. It was kind of more of a location-based whiteboard. So you kind of see what's happening around you.
Yeah.
So people could like kind of be like in the known of like what's going on around them. So if they like had like an event,
you
or
can see
something.
trending locations. You can see like, everyone's going to Pete's tonight, or like whatever
tomorrow.
it is.
Is that still something you're working on?
No, that was something we're not working on anymore.
Okay, gotcha.
We worked on that for about 10 years, and then we just like have that, I guess, built out software that we ended up exiting.
Okay. Cool. And you said you're from Jackson, Wyoming. I've actually been there before on a family vacation. That place is beautiful.
Yeah. It is crazy to grow up in like a travel destination.
Yeah,
for sure.
And it, kind of the same thing for us. We grew up in Amelia Island, north of here, which is very much a travel destination. But what brought you from Jackson, Wyoming to Jacksonville, Florida?
Yeah, so growing up in Jackson, Wyoming, my dad was from California, and that's where he started all of his companies. And then after exiting a few, he quickly realized going to a state without that kind of that tax, like the income tax was like he was a big thing, was like he always ran startups, so he wanted to like provide, once he exited the company, he wanted to give out the people that rode it with him the whole way, like those guys that also were on board with him from the start. He wanted to be able to like support them, and in California, when you're supporting them, you're getting taxed 50% of what you're giving them, versus like he quickly realized that he could move after like a little bit of financial freedom. He could move to Wyoming, like actually hire employees out there and like run the businesses out of there.
Uh-huh.
And then for me, when I left to college, I went back to California. We actually founded the company out of our old office, tech space company, in California. And I knew I wanted to get somewhere else that was kind of like Wyoming. And at that point, Jackson, Wyoming had become like the #1 tourist destination in the U.S. It was really expensive to live in. There was no like employees to hire out there. So for me, it was like, I want to find somewhere that feels kind of like that small community, but has a like kind of a fast growing, I guess. And really, to be honest, I'm always into real estate, and Jacksonville like piqued my interest from
real estate in Jacksonville.
Yeah,
amazing.
my fiance is from here, and I was always like, oh, like I've heard so many crazy things about Florida, because on the West Coast, it's like everyone's anti-East Coast. I heard so many crazy things about Florida, and then I came here and I fell in love with it because Jacksonville's like nothing about what you hear of Florida, and I was like, I mean, I couldn't believe
not your
what I was
typical
seeing.
like crazy Florida man you see in the newspapers and stuff.
And you see
when
I first got here, it was like 2018 or 2019. And I mean, like you could see, like I've never seen house prices on the beach, like when I was seeing.
Exactly.
Exactly. I was like calling everybody. I was like, this is nuts.
Like you could get a beach house here for like $500,000-$600,000. Now, run.
And then now it's gone up like triple. But
exactly.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you said you were in California. Is that where you both went to college?
Yeah, I went to Pepperdine in Malibu.
Okay.
A really small like college, and then
I just grew up in Orange County, California, so just Southern California.
Okay.
And that's where I originally met Will in, I think, like high school, right? And we just met through surfing, mutual friends. And then that's really where we met, in California. And then if I ever had like a good idea, I'd run it by Will. And he'd be like, all right, well, this is a good idea. What if we did this, this, and this instead? And then we'd bring it to his father, who would like set in reality. And it's like, okay, well, this is not even possible, but
normally
you could do
apart.
this, this, and this, and this. So if we ever had a good idea, I would just like run it by him. He was like one of the only people that had like a similar mindset, as opposed to just like working under somebody or just like
getting a 9 to 5,
a safe job, going to school or anything like that. So
that feels like our relationship too sometimes.
Yeah, it really is.
But so y'all both decided to move out to Jacksonville together?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I was pretty clear when we started the business that I was like, I want to move it here at some point. That's where I was like, because I knew like we could make our funding last a million times longer.
A million times.
Like we sponsor the NFL Jaguars. There's no way we're gonna sponsor like the Los Angeles Chargers.
No,
right.
But it's the same. It does the same thing. Like we get to like show that we have that national exposure with an NFL team, and we get to grow. We get to like come here, which I thought was at the time like a very entrepreneurial city. I mean, you look at like I've never seen in a city like so many like independent businesses like that still flourish.
Right.
Like there's no like independent surf shop still flourishing in California. But here there is.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so it's so cool like that the community like prides themselves on that. And, like,
there is a lot of small business owners here.
You want to go with momentum.
Sure.
I feel like that's what I've learned from my dad. Like it's all about momentum. And I felt like Jacksonville had the momentum. And when we were living in LA at that point in 2020, there was the opposite of momentum. And I think everyone kind of feels that in LA.
The barriers to entry there are very high.
And dude, I think it's really cool that a couple of kids from California could see that in Jacksonville, because like we grew up here, so like we love Jacksonville, and like
from across the country.
Yeah, from across the country to see that, like that's just like respect.
Like, I just shout out my fiance because she brought me here. So,
but still,
and she's an entrepreneur too, which is nice. So we get to like, I think we both get to work crazy hours and like not have to.
What does she do?
She runs a fine jewelry business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And you guys met at Pepperdine?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Makes sense.
shout out Stone Fine Jewelry.
Sweet. So tell me a little bit about the creations, the origin stories. I mean, you said that you're basically you had this chain of command where like you have an idea, you go to him, he goes to his dad, and he's like, nah, this is what you can actually do. I assume it was the same process with Bluebird. Is that where it's kind of how it started?
Yeah, very similar. I was working on just like an idea of a different concept, and we were talking about it. And we were like, all right, it could be good, but it could be a fad. Like, what is something that we could build into a big business? And it was basically, what is the worst part about drinking? Worst part about drinking is the hangover, right? So that's kind of where the entire idea came from. So what leads to a hangover? Sugar and dehydration. That's like the number two things. All right, well, what if we cut out all the sugar and we add water?
Yeah.
Like, vodka and water, that sounds kind of crazy. It doesn't sound like it's going to taste too good.
Yeah.
So then we literally just made samples in a water bottle, and we got it down. We did like a shot and a glass of water, and we tried it, and we were actually blown away. We were like, all right, this tastes really good. Gave it to all of our friends.
I think the first thing
they
we
all
did
loved
too,
it as well.
that I've always done with my dad is like when we came up with the idea, we're like, that sounds so crazy. Like, why has nobody made alcoholic water? Like we were like, why has nobody ever done that?
Yeah.
So the first thing we do is like look around the internet, like why is nobody doing this?
Yeah.
And it was crazy to me that nobody was doing it. But what we found was that like it was a trending thing on TikTok. It had like, I think at that time it had like 30 million posts about vodka water, people drinking it. And then we found articles about Las Vegas. At that year, it had surpassed vodka sodas in ordering. So people were like, in the Las Vegas Strip, vodka water was ordered more than vodka sodas. And nobody was entering into that market of like alcoholic water. So we were like, this is crazy. It's booming.
Why don't you think they were entering into it? Do you think you just found something that just...
I think it's one of those things where like a lot of good ideas.
You just tracked a trend.
A lot of good ideas too. You can track a trend, or you can like, I think some of the best ideas in the world, like you look at e-commerce, you can just say like, duh, too. Like, you can be like, oh, like alcoholic waters. It's almost so obvious. It's like people try to complicate things. They try to like, oh, we got to do a canned margarita, or we got to go into like, we got to like complicate this.
You don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Everyone, no one really thinks about like the obvious, and that's what does the best, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So tell me about the taste level testing whenever you're first going through the process. You're filling it up in water bottles. And then
how many times
it.
did it take you?
I mean, you're coming up with like a recipe at that point, and then how do you get into like manufacturing? Obviously, there's so many levels. I mean, you say you're working on it for 2 years.
Yeah.
Take me through the process.
The process is actually pretty wild for alcohol. So alcohol is by far the most regulated industry I've ever been in. And I definitely, like, if you're an entrepreneur, I think like get your feet wet in another industry and then come into this one, because it's just it's so absolutely wild. Like especially like the barrier to entry is crazy, because it's that 2-year process where you have to have an alcohol attorney. You have to go through all the filings. You have to go through all the formulation. I think beyond when we just started giving out samples in water bottles, we just want to see if people liked it.
Yeah.
And like instantly we got that kind of like feedback. And then we went straight into a consumer study to make sure we weren't the only crazy ones, and our friends weren't just like giving us like, oh yeah, this is good because we made it. So we like did a 200-person consumer study just to see what the reactions were, and the reactions were crazy. Like we were blown away by it. And even the third-party agency that ran it was like, we've never seen results like this. So we're going to go into it and do it. But I think the craziest barrier to entry, the whole time I asked myself, like, why is nobody doing this? Like it just seems like basic. Like it's by far a popular drink at a bar order. Like, why is nobody putting this in a can? It's so simple. And to me, that was like, I was like, it's so obvious. And then I kind of figured out right away when we submitted to the TTB, which is like our governing body for alcohol. Like all food and anything consumable in the U.S., you go through the FDA, except for alcohol. It goes through like the TTB, which is like the tobacco and alcohol regulating body. And we submitted them the vodka water formula. At that point, we'd seen high noons, like vodka sodas on the market. Yeah. And so we submitted the vodka water formula, and we got denied. And I was like, why did we get denied?
Formula's literally 2 ingredients.
Yeah, literally 2 ingredients. Vodka and water. Yeah, literally like how do you get denied? So that's when I actually ended up going straight to an alcohol attorney, like themselves, that specialize in it. And I talked to him about it, and it turns out there was a weird law in the U.S. that if you make a spirit, like a 40%, like a vodka, you have to be 40% alcohol or higher, unless you add pretty much a flavor, which is a really weird law. Like all the alcohol laws are super outdated. Yeah, they're like, they make no sense. Like for example, we're at 4% alcohol, the same as a light beer, but we get taxed like $7, and beer gets taxed 20 cents. Yeah.
Just so because it's a hard sphere.
Just because it's a hard sphere, even though it's the exact same alcohol level and everything's ethanol that we're consuming in our bodies. Yeah. But I think that was the craziest thing to see us get denied. And then it was an 8-month battle with the TTB just to get approval. Jeez. Like, so we didn't want to like compromise and just put an ingredient in it and be like, oh, because the whole concept was no hangovers, 2 ingredients, make the cleanest alcohol ever. Clean. We didn't want to compromise, but then it was like we were getting hit for 8 months straight, like, oh, we might not be able to even launch this thing because we might not ever get approval. And we finally got approval. And right then we knew we were the only ones that had potential to even create this product. So we filed patents on the formulas at that moment too, which was funny. Like just filing a patent on like a vodka water.
I was going to ask that question. Yeah, that's awesome. You know, it's funny that you say like in the consumer studies that the ratings were just incredible, because like I think back to like when we were in college, I don't think I ever ordered anything other than a vodka water or a tequila water. I don't think I ever ordered anything else.
Scooping the ice out.
What's so funny, like it's so funny, like every room we go into, every distributor meeting or every like pitch we give out, somebody in the room drinks vodka waters and they're like, why has nobody created this? They're like,
no,
that's my go-to drink.
I mean, honestly, it's like, why didn't I think of this?
Yeah. That's the whole concept. It's like, that's the Doug concept that I used to do with startups.
Awesome.
It's like, can you say like, why didn't I think of this? Or like, can you just say like, wow, that's like so like, duh, just like saying that. Like,
and I like this, like the simplicity of like the can too. You know, like there's not a lot in your face. Like it's easy to read and it's just,
it's clean.
It's clean. Yeah. And it's very,
super clean.
The edges are good. Like I like it a lot.
So after, I mean, you're hard battling. You get through the attorney process. You've spent all these, I mean, time and probably a lot of money and resources and things. What was step one for you once you got that approval?
I guess like finding a manufacturer was kind of like throughout that process, but also afterwards was really kicked in. Is like we went and found a manufacturer. We probably looked at multiple places, and it was so hard. Like I think there's a lot of industries like this in the U.S., but getting into the industry is like always the first like hardest step, I think, to like just get like industry is such a tight knit one. It was like just getting into it. And once we got into it, it was like, oh, all these doors opened up. But like getting into it was like, we were just Googling like where to co-pack, alcohol. And it was like, we weren't getting anywhere. Like I ended up actually, the attorney that helped me out get the approval recommended me to a manufacturing site. And then like long story short, went to that manufacturing site. They looked at the formula like, oh, this is so simple to make. And they underestimated, since nobody's ever made it before, they underestimated the simplicity, and we actually had problems at that manufacturing plant producing our product, and we had to go pivot to somewhere else completely, which was one of the biggest things that slowed us down, was like, now we have to go pick up all of our pieces at this one facility, go to another one. And really the reality was, beyond just our drink being hard to get approved, like actual canned water, like if you look at like a Liquid Death, canning water is one of the hardest things to can in the U.S. and it's wild. Like Liquid Death was canned in Austria for
Liquid Death is awesome too.
And it was canned in Austria for 4 years straight because they couldn't find a U.S. manufacturer that could actually do it and not have problems with like shelf stability.
Interesting.
And because of that, it was because everything.
Is that just because of contamination?
It's just because everything in the U.S. is built around like the Coke phenomenon. Like it's built around like everything that we do canning wise. Like if you look at like even like Europe and Africa canning lines, they're way more advanced than ours are because we invented it, and we never like to redo a whole manufacturing plant costs millions and millions of dollars, like tens and millions. So all they do is add in like a little piece. And everything in the U.S. is built around carbonation, which adds shelf stability because it drops the pH super low. And then everything in the U.S. is also built around like high flavors or having like even a chemical barrier in your drink, which is what we didn't want because it makes you hungover. It's just making you drink like a shelf, like you drink like a sodium benzoate. It's like shelf stable, or it makes it like it's a chemical that makes it.
So shelf stability. Does this one have a lower shelf stability than?
No, so we actually found a plant that could can water at full stability, and then that's where we went to.
You said that.
First. So that's where we pivoted to, was a facility that could can water.
Is that in the United States?
Yeah, it's in Indiana.
Okay. Awesome.
And then I really like too, what was like the thought process behind, obviously it's like a vodka water in a can, but most of them have like the long skinny cans, or why did you go with like the traditional beer can? Any thought process on that, or?
Really, I mean, a point of difference. That was kind of part of the thing. We were like, okay, every single person is coming out with another seltzer. One's named, mango. The other one's named dragon mango fruit. Nobody knows what it is. They're all fake flavors anyways. And so we just kind of wanted to take a step back. Like, okay, what do we like? I like growing up on like a Bud Light can or a Coors Light can, not a skinny can. So it's just really just getting as many points of difference as possible. That's why we didn't do on the packaging. We didn't do crazy packaging with like a bunch of, bubbles and marks as well. So it's just kind of to keep everything as simple as possible. Don't change it up. We know what we like. Like I've seen a million people drink out of fat cans, and then the last 5 years, everybody was doing skinny cans. So it's like, why would we do skinny? Let's bring it back. Let's bring back tradition.
I like that a lot because I like a good beer can like this. Do y'all do like any other like boxes that are more than 4 cans, or is 4 cans kind of like just the norm?
That's what we launched with. So like we've only been in market for a year. We launched with the 4 cans just to see how it would go. Like, I always think the biggest thing about being an entrepreneur is like, I say this all the time, like, and it's probably like the biggest thing I say in the office is fail fast. Like, so get your product. Like I always think like just get your product to market as fast as possible. And then what a lot of companies don't do is they just get their product to market and they just believe in it so like wholeheartedly that's all they push.
They never pivot.
And it's like, well, let's get in the market and let's learn what consumers like about our products, what they don't like about our products, and then pivot. So this summer is when we're launching we talked about earlier, but our flavored products. And those are in 8 packs. So we're doing multi-flavor in 8 packs, but we're keeping it super clean. The concept of hard water, not to be hungover. So we're making them with real juice. So we're doing a lime. We're doing a vodka pack that's half lime, half cranberry. We're doing a tequila pack that's half pineapple and half lime. And that's really like from what we've learned and doing consumer studies off of our current product, which sells at, you know, above average consumer rates on the shelf. We think even with our consumer study we did from comparing our existing ones to our flavored ones that we're going to even outsell those. That's just the pivoting and learning, I think.
And that's we talk about that all the time in our business is you have to test different, you know, parts of your business, whether it's, you know, marketing or sourcing materials or leads or whatever, you know, it may be for, you know, selling vodka versus selling real estate. If you have to test all these different, and you have to find out what works and then pivot from there. And I think that's where a lot of people die on the vine, is they get stuck on this one, like, hey, I'm doing things this way. This is what I'm going forward and doing. And they get so hard and set in their ways they can't change or pivot.
I've told you, like, love the company, love the brand, don't love the product. Which is like,
or
like always be willing, like it's consumer first. So it's like just love your consumers first.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, like, and especially like nowadays with all the tech companies, is like they prioritize their investors, or they prioritize like their own feelings. And it's just like prioritize your consumer and what they're saying, and just if you pivot with them, like, you're gonna go way further.
Oh, dude, I totally.
And now, how are you getting this out in front of people and like out in the community?
Well, to follow up on that question, how you got it out, I want to go back to, you know, when you got the correct company that was able to create everything.
Yeah.
What was that step? You know, getting it out to the community. Obviously, you have, hey, this plane is going to be able to can it correctly.
Yeah.
How do you get it to shelves? How do you distribute it? What was your process?
At that point, it's like, so in alcohol in the U.S., you have to go through a distributor, and then you have to go through a retailer. They call it a 3-tier system. So like, we're technically the manufacturers on our end, or we're the brand owners, and we can't distribute our products, and we can't sell our own products. Like, we can never, both of us can never own a golf course that sells alcohol, or we can never own like a store that sells alcohol.
Really?
Until we unless we sold this thing or got rid of it, because it's this super strict 3-tier system. There's people that do it. You can put like your company in trust and, like, you know, get a golf course. There's a lot of Anheuser-Busch corporate people that have a golf course.
There's some ways around it.
Yeah, there's ways around it, but like
yeah.
typically you can't really like interfere on the 3 tiers.
Okay.
So we had to go look for distribution, which I think is the hardest thing in the U.S. right now, because in 2018, like there's all these like the U.S. is really interesting. They made the 3-tier system to not have conglomerates, yet all that created was more conglomerates.
Yeah.
So it was like every big company in the U.S. was like probably 5. It was like Molson Coors, Anheuser-Busch, Diageo, I don't know, like Pernod Ricard, and like Gallo. And they own almost every single alcohol product that we consume. And even like the startup ones that we think is a startup as a consumer, they own.
Yeah.
So it was like, and then they have their distribution partner like Southern Wine and Glazers or Reyes, or even the Anheuser-Busch network, which is all these independent ones that are like their networks. And they only, like those distributors, they keep their lights on with those companies. So that's all they care about at the end of the day. So for us, it was like, how do we get in front of these distributors? And in 2018, what happened is they had this like huge race to the top. They all started buying each other. So all they did was have way more brands. Like most of our distributors have like 5,000, like so many brands. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So how do you differentiate ours? And then during 2020, a lot of distributors laid off like 75% of their staff.
Wow.
And then never rehired, because they were like, we can make the same money at 25% of our staff. We can take more home at the end of the day.
Yeah.
They never rehired. So now it's like on our end to hire reps for them to go sell, to help them sell, even though they have a sales rep staff. The hardest challenge is honestly getting distribution.
Yeah, exactly.
And that for us was a big, I think we went to every single person we could possibly go to. And then fortunately in Florida, I think we found, out of the ones we went with, we found really 2 good partners through Anheuser-Busch, like our local one, North Florida Sales, and then Triangle Sales over in Tallahassee, which really like, they were able to get behind us and really help us out.
How'd you differentiate the product and get them to accept you?
I think the biggest thing is those guys were like naturally excited about the differentiation. So like that was really cool for them, was like to bring us in and be like, they were tired. They were bought into. Yeah,
they want a new guy in the space.
They were bought into, and they let us do full team meetings with them. So like our big thing was doing GSM meetings, which had kind of been forgotten about since 2020, which are like the whole sales staff shows up on a Friday, and you get in front of all of them and you launch this brand with them, and that had never been done since 2020 besides on Zoom. And on Zoom, no one's paying attention. So it was like, our big thing was like, hey, let's do an in-person one. We'll bring them whenever they want. We'll bring them lunch. We'll just try to get them in the room all together. And a lot of them were like, hey, we haven't been in the room as a company in 3 years. And they were like stoked on it. Yeah, they're fired up about it. And then we try to fire them up about it. Like, hey, like we try to create like a kind of a frenzy in the room. Like Trevor's idea was to like offer the first person to sell something gets $100 like live. So like the frenzy, it was like a Wolf of Wall Street like scene where like people are calling.
Do you remember your first sale then?
It was like, I think someone in New York did it. Like,
they did it right there. So I was just like, all right, what if we just do like a boiler room like thing where we just say, okay, first sale is $100, and then they all have their accounts that will take whatever. And I was like, but this needs to actually deliver to the account, because they can book a sale and then just cancel it as soon as we step out of the door. So I was like, I'll give it to you after it finally delivers. But that that was like the second step. Or not the second, there's many steps down, but it was getting the distributors, and it was just finding people. Something we always say is just like working with people that we like working with. It makes it easier, makes it more fun, and I think you just do better business anyways. Yeah. And it was just them. It was really the same thing as like why we started it. They're saying a million different seltzers come in. They have their one that they're pushing super hard, and then they have a million after that, or another margarita in a can, or another craft beer that has a new name, and then this one's called whatever, right? So it's just kind of them immediately realizing, like, I have never had anything like this. Yeah. And we told them, because we're the first to do it, and it took us 8 months fighting with the government to get here.
We got shout out our New York distributor too. Our New York distributor was our first big break, and we were like, we didn't have our eyes set on New York. And we got a meeting up there, and we were like, let's just take it and see what happens. And it was one of the best New York distributors, the biggest one up there. It's called Empire Merchants. And the owner came to the meeting, and he tried the tequila water. And again, like, and not to like, distributors are kind of just like, oh yeah, like, whatever, another brand. He cracked it open, tried it, and he was like, wait, this is like, we have something here. Yeah. And so that was really our first big break, was like getting that New York, like one of the biggest New York distributors behind us. Well, and the owner loved it.
A little backstory on that. So we walk in with both in suits, right? and then the first thing we say is like, hey, we just like to keep it casual. We just want to have a conversation with you. And he's like, yeah, I can see how casual you guys want to keep. You guys are both in suits. What are you talking about? And we're like, all right, well, the conversation we want to keep casual. Yeah. So like we go through like the first probably 10 slides, and he's just answering emails on his phone or on his computer, and we're like, all right, you know what, let's put this on pause, let's hand out some samples. So then he tried our tequila water. So they actually distribute Clase Azul as well, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Is that your base tequila?
No, it is not. But he took a sip of our tequila water, and he's like, hold on, wait a second, you guys got to back up the past 10 slides. I got to pay attention now. He's like, this tastes exactly like my Clase Azul on the rocks. Like once the rocks have melted down, he's like, that's like my favorite sip of every single drink.
Yeah, exactly.
Would this be a good time to try it?
Yeah,
yeah, let's do it. So
we'll get you a cold. Do you have a?
I'm gonna do, because you're talking about tequila.
I'm gonna do the tequila. And then walk
one.
us through the next flavors.
We'll get you a cold tequila.
I have a cold tequila.
We serve about lime too. Like a lot of our on-premise places serve with a lime too. Like kind of Corona, which is really cool. Like to have that like natural flavor.
No, I'm okay. Thank you though.
But that's how you want it though, just like with a
real
Corona
juice.
or something else. Like you have like a real lime to go with the drink.
Our big thing too is like, since we've been in market, now we know and understand how to can real juice and have it shelf stable. So that's a big thing for us too. Is like now we can go add the flavors in a clean way.
Yeah,
that we kind of dreamed of.
Which one's y'all's favorite out of the three? You had to.
It's like it's so hard. It's like he says, it's like choosing your favorite kid.
It is.
Oh yeah, I get it. It is. It's like choosing a favorite kid.
I have it. I don't tell most people, but I'll tell you what. My favorite one. Well, the biggest surprise for everybody is definitely the whiskey water. I probably had maybe 2 whiskey drinks in my life.
I feel like everything's always a whiskey Coke or a whiskey soda or a whiskey.
Whiskey's just scary to people. Like whiskey's like.
Hey, I mean, if you get whiskey on the rocks, you let the rocks kind of melt.
Oh, it's delicious.
I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
This one's probably like, if you do a consumer study and you force people to try them all, this one always wins out, but people are the most scared of it. Right? People are like, oh, I don't know, like I'm not a whiskey person.
What's the highest in the consumer study that they're willing to try? The vodka?
The vodka's like always the easiest. Like people are like, oh, I can do that.
I can do that.
Let's try this one. Cheers.
Well, I got the tequila one.
Cheers.
All right.
You got a little tequila and like.
That is good.
You get the tequila in there, but it's definitely like, you can tell that it's high grade water. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that's important because, like you were talking about liquid death before, like you could just put like tequila and Dasani and something and it just tastes like ass.
No, like our big thing was like actually like it was like we got to like really, our co-packer was awesome when we got to like talk with him, and my favorite water at the time was Fiji water, and I think that's
I love Fiji.
It's like it's so good. And we were like I got to like kind of get, and I almost became a scientist just like being in the room with these guys and like going through the development process. But like I call it like thick water. Like it has that thickness to it, like a silky like thickness. Yeah, that's what we try to match with our water.
No, it's good. Yeah. It's high quality like spring fresh water with the tequila. If you don't mind sharing, can you? What is the tequila base? Can you say?
Yeah, the tequila base. It's it's solely like we go to the distillery in Mexico, we talk with them. It's our base, so it's like our signature base. Like it's not like you're not gonna find another brand that's using this tequila.
Exactly.
And there's down there, I think it's 5 or 6 distilleries down in Jalisco, Mexico. So they make the world's tequila.
Exactly.
The entire world. So
there's only 5 places in Mexico that brew tequila.
There's like 5, and then there's like
tequila,
the boutique ones. Like we actually went to a boutique one. But it was crazy. Like I went down there and I went to the biggest guy. And he, like, I don't know how much I can share on this one, but he makes, like, let's just say he makes almost all the brands that we're used to in the US.
Yeah.
And he has one process to make it. So it's like, okay, there's only difference between all of these tequilas is just the additives they're putting in that they're not disclosing, because you don't have to disclose it to the American public. You don't have to disclose, like the crazy thing that we found out when we got in this space was that, like, and we never even thought about, like, talking about it really. Even yesterday we were kind of talking about it again, was like, the alcohol space is the only place in the U.S. or the alcohol industry is the only industry you don't have to disclose ingredients on.
Yeah,
and there's leeway.
I did notice that.
Yeah, there's leeway in the alcohol industry. So there's like the reason, like, I don't know, the reason, like, I can't really call it, I don't know if I can call it brands, like the reason like Tito's tastes like Tito's, I guess, is because you think about how big they are.
Yeah.
They're doing so much volume. How do they keep it consistent? It is that little, like, flex room they have to, like, keep that consistency on their flavor profile in a certain way.
Like what, if you can say, like, what kind of additives?
The tequila stuff, I see, like, on the tequila side of things, I see, like anything kind of flies down there almost, really.
Yeah.
But, like, I guess the one that really shocked me the most was, like, a lot of tequilas will add glycerin to give it that thickness that we're talking about, like a high-end spirit would have, like that, like, to kind of thicken it up.
Glycerin. That does make sense, because I've had, like, some really, like, thick tequilas before on the expensive side.
Yeah. Or even you think of, like, brands like, I don't care about this one, Casamigos. Like, that one is, like, people think it's, like, this high-end tequila.
Yeah.
That has probably the most additives, I think, out of any brand that I know of.
Really?
And, like, they have so many additives, I think they have to disclose some of them on the back.
Interesting.
Yeah,
because I've drinking a lot of Casamigos.
I used to think it was amazing. I used to think, oh, this is
and
good
then you
stuff.
go down there and you lift the skirt up and you're like,
you're like, oh wow, like, oh, all these brands are made the exact same way.
Yeah, that's super interesting.
I always felt hungover off Casamigos too.
That's why, I think it's why, and that's the biggest thing for us was, like, not only did we have to go down the consumer route of, like, let's go try some spirits, but I remember the first time we tried whiskey that didn't have any additives in it, and we were like, this doesn't taste like whiskey that we're used to.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, that's because it has no additives. So, like, for us, it was like a long battle also to find whiskey that people, like, you know, generally had, like, the flavor of, but without having the additives.
Is it more expensive to have these base, you know, liquors, you know, vodka, tequila, whiskey that don't have the additives?
The whiskey for sure. The whiskey, I'd say for sure. And then the vodka, like, brands that cut corner on vodka, I don't get it, because, like, a high-end vodka is, like, not expensive.
Yeah.
Like, you can get a really nice vodka and spend, like, not a lot of money. Like, even if you get the nicest vodka in the world, it is so cheap that, like, I can't even. The margins on, like, high-end vodkas must be crazy. Yeah. Like, it must be wild.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, it was just crazy. I think whiskey was the most baffling to us, and we did invest in that. But the cool thing was that with our tequila, actually was our first co-packer recommended us this tequila source, and he just had a really unique tequila source, and the guy was really boutique-y, just didn't want to raise his prices, so he actually gave us a really fair price to do a really high-end tequila.
Were you doing all of this sourcing for the base of your product before you even got approved for the attorney and all of that stuff? Like, you were
in tandem, stuff? I would say, yeah. Our
So
biggest thing was, like, we came with the idea, and it was like, let's get this to market before anybody else, because we think it's so good and we know it's booming. So it's like our race to market was a lot quicker than I think a lot of, like, consumer brands would probably do.
What is some marketing you're doing right now to push it out there?
Like, so our marketing, and we kind of talked about this earlier, even it was like a lot of us. Like a lot, all of the first year we focused on, which is the complete opposite of what I'm used to. We tested a bunch of things, and, like, it was smarter for us to invest in, like, the NFL Jaguars partnership,
right?
Or, like, invest into a bar, or invest into, like, POS on the on-premise, or invest into our sales reps and our distribution staff. That's where all of our marketing went. And then in the last kind of, like, once we got that established and we kind of spent our resources there, now is, like, just this January, or just literally, like, a week ago, we're bringing on, like, kind of a social media team to, like, really start going into, like, TikTok and start going into, like, our social platforms.
Yeah. Right.
And then really that's kind of, like, the final iteration of our brand is, like, getting it to the point where we want it this summer. With those flavors, and then now we're gonna go national. So we're gonna go Texas, California.
Nice.
We're launching Nashville on Monday.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Dude, that's gonna be sick.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a huge summer.
For sure.
A lot of traveling then on the books for you.
Yeah. I said we actually got really lucky with our newest VP of sales, this guy Jose Morales. He reached out to us because he like loved the concept, and he had built a distribution network during 2020, which was the most challenging time.
Yeah.
I was like, that's really cool because we have amazing board members on our team. And that was a big thing I learned from my father was, like, go and get some good board members. But I have like the ex-CEO Bacardi that really loved our products. That he brought us down to Miami, had lunch with us, and was like, "I love this. I want to be a part of it." But like to be honest,
will push you.
To be honest, like those guys, like they live in a different industry.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
They were like in back in the day, if you listen to like how Patron was created, like Patron was just like, "Hey, Bacardi, sell this," and then they would go out and sell it. And then it was like, oh, if Bacardi didn't do good enough, they're going to give it to Diageo. And then they're like, Diageo, go sell this for us. And if they didn't do good enough, they're going to give it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's like you're fighting just to get anywhere in a distribution network. And like those guys didn't understand that. So like our VP of sales that reached out to us actually like just loved the concept. He saw like a PR release we did about like this concept. He was like, I can't believe no one's done liquid death for alcohol.
Yeah, literally.
So he said, and he was like, I can't believe no one's done that. And he's like, we brought him on board. He's really been helping us get those like expansion states like Tennessee.
That's awesome.
Those key states.
That's so cool. And the liquid death of alcohol is, I would say, it's pretty much on brand.
Yeah, it's just like it.
The can is almost like out of all the seltzers, you talked about skinny cans and stuff. It seems like Happy Dad would be kind of like a major competitor for you guys. Do you see that or hear that?
Yeah, we really look. I mean, it's funny because when people ask us who the competitors are, it's kind of everybody for the exact, like all the reasons that we're talking about any other brand as well. Like somebody's like, well, why wouldn't I just do a Jack Daniels and then pour it in a cup of water and then add water to it? I don't know if you've ever gotten a whiskey and water from a bar.
It's not very
great.
It's not very good.
It's because of all those additives and like as you like dilute it down to like the 4%, like
and
a light
using
beer.
tap water,
Exactly.
Off the hose.
Exactly. And so we're just like, you can do that. Knock yourself out. You will literally knock yourself out. But we've spent time. We've put like the time to just like get the perfect mixture as well. And then also it's just to basically we just want to bring the cleanest way to drink to you guys. So I got a couple of fun facts for you.
Okay.
So like a margarita in a can. It's a big brand. It's a margarita in a can.
We can say big brand names as long as we don't.
It is a Cutwater margarita in a can, right? It has 360 calories per can.
Jeez.
Take a guess.
That's like a cookie.
Also, disclaimer: we can't. And the alcohol industry is one of the only industries you can't talk about a competitor, which is crazy. You can't talk badly about a competitor, which is wild. So like, they don't like you see like insurance ads. They're like, oh, our insurance is better than like State Farm.
Right.
Like we can't say ours is better than like a High Noon. So we're like disclaimer, we're not doing that, but we can talk about like facts.
I'm just educating. Educating. So 360 calories for that one can. So take a guess on how many calories a McDonald's cheeseburger has.
360.
460.
313.
No way.
So you're slamming a cheeseburger every single time you drink one of those.
Dang.
And then it's just like the beers and everything like that, how you never feel good after a night of drinking.
Feel bloated.
Yes. So it's just kind of that whole thing of just like bringing the cleanest way to drink to everybody. And it's like my mom taught me how to drink. Have a drink, have a glass of water. Have a drink, have a glass of water. I never did it when I was younger, so we made it up to her. We created a concept and we put it in a can.
Our initial conversation was like we drink cocktails and then at night we slam water like we're gonna like recuperate somehow. And then nobody ever does. It's like, why don't we just do it at the same time when we should be doing it? And like you can drink the same alcohol content as a light beer, which I loved, like that alcohol content.
I love a light beer.
I said like our idea was like it's water and you're microdosing alcohol. Like, that was like
microdosing alcohol.
Yeah,
I like that.
Like, you can pace yourself. It's 4%, so you can be like, I can have one, I can wake up tomorrow and be productive, or I can have a couple and still wake up and feel good. But I'm just microdosing alcohol with that water. I think that was the biggest kind of concept for us.
And it's so much more fun to have like multiple drinks with your friends, have a good time. Like it's all about getting together and having a good time. Nobody wants to black out immediately. Some people do. We don't encourage them to do that. But drinking alcohol, it's about getting together with the people that you like.
Drink responsibly.
Drink responsibly always.
I like this a lot because I actually, whenever I go drink, I'll do like whiskey cokes or whatever, but I do like every 2 drinks like a water in between. But this kind of just like take the place of that.
I
like that a lot.
But even like going back to the Happy Dad stuff, like I think the craziest thing on the market right now that we battle against, and I think the consumer is actually like waking up to it. So if you look at like a White Claw or a Ranch Rider or like
I can't drink those. They hurt my stomach.
Yeah, so that's why. This is why. Like even a Happy Dad, they're all so even like a Happy Dad, they're all malted alcohol. And there's like so many weird things about that we've learned. And
really, so it's not even actual.
No, it's not even actual. But that's the crazy thing is like I'll stop people on the road. Like this is one girl that walks in my house and she drinks Ranch Rider. And it has her Bush brand. It's like Lone River Ranch Rider. I'm like, why do you drink that? And she's like, oh, it's because it's tequila, soda, and lime, and it has no tequila in it. It has no lime in it. It has like, and maybe, it probably has tap RO water.
It's
soda
malt
water.
liquor with flavor.
Yeah, so it's agave malted. Like it's and like the crazy thing about even like learning about malted liquor is if you look at a White Claw can, like our can has no nutrition panel because we're pretty clear about it. We're like, hey, these are the 2 ingredients. You know, we tell you the calories. really clear about it. White Claw is required to put a nutritional panel on it because malted liquor is not protected by the TTB, which is a weird loophole because when they created the TTB, they didn't think people would actually drink malt liquor.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, like no one's gonna drink this shit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if that's on here,
so
but
it's the same alcohol as a Colt 45.
yeah,
like
right. It's such a bad alcohol that literally
alcohol.
it falls under the FDA guidelines, and then that's why they have a nutrition panel because it's this alcohol that like even the alcohol body was like no one's gonna drink this. Like, and then it's just blown up.
Taped to their hands.
Yes, Colt 45.
Yeah, but it's just blown up now because
40
like and it's all malt liquor and people don't know they're drinking malt liquor. Like a Happy Dad is still malt liquor, and like.
That's
a White Claw is malt liquor, like, and then, but the consumer is waking up to it because you see White Claw kind of falling off the map, and brands like High Noon are really picking up, and those are like they're using real vodka,
Yeah,
and that's like why the consumer's like, oh, I'm kind of waking up to like I'm willing to pay the vodka tax.
Yeah,
you know, like we get tax on our end, but that means the shelf price is higher. But like people are going in willing to pay almost double for a High Noon pack than a White Claw pack because it's that real vodka.
Nice.
I have a pretty interesting question if you guys are able to talk about it. So you had a really huge upfront time and money expense in putting this together.
Yeah.
And something that I feel like a lot of business owners don't talk about is going from the red to the black.
Yeah.
You put together, a very extensive, push into distributions. You got your big break in New York. At what point did it really start taking off? I mean, after your first sale, you had the $100 go out. I'm sure you didn't make money on that first sale. You paid $100 for it.
No.
What was that transition into actually, being profitable, selling, a good amount of, on your distribution platforms?
I think you have to like the alcohol industry, and like this is just fortunate to be behind with my dad to understand how some industries work. Like this one, we don't plan on being profitable for like 3 years.
Okay.
3 or 4 years. Yeah. Cause it's just like to be competitive on the shelf. That's the only problem with this industry. And that's why I would say like get your feet wet with like going
other
like,
businesses first. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and like that's why it's like,
capital.
even I wish I kind of got like my feet wet a little more, even though I had that whole entrepreneurial experience. Like it's such a crazy industry to go into. It's one of the highest fail rate industries in the US. I think it's a 95% fail rate across the board. And it's the highest barrier to entry that I know of. And for like, to kind of compute this, I always say like the sexier the industry, the more expensive the barrier to entry. Of course. So like I think like go get your feet wet and like you look at other industries that people do really well in. It's like you can go build a really solid company somewhere and like learn a lot. Yeah. And like go into a high margin business first. I think that's the biggest thing to like I would do, and then go look at this side of things and like understand that like you have to build it for an exit. And I think a lot of times like you look at industries, and the reason the alcohol industry is so appealing to me is it is one of the highest exit industries. Like it's just like it almost rivals tech in exits.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like so that's kind of what we're looking at. But we want to get
you're in for the long term.
Yeah, we're in for the long term, and we want to get it to a point where like it's kind of like I think in the next really with what our plan is the next year and a half, we'll probably be profitable at the end of the next year.
Okay.
With what we've shifted to really.
Yeah.
And that'll be really hopefully fun to get there and less stressful.
Sure what was the first store that carried your product? Do you know?
I know the first one I went to was East Houston Liquor in New York.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was really cool. Just
like a little bodega or something?
It was like 2 years until we saw it on the shelf. I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
I was like,
that's so cool.
Yeah.
It's a little liquor store over in the East Village in New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys are currently on shelves in how many states?
We're on shelves in 3 states.
3 states.
Yeah.
Florida, New York, and
Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you're going there on Monday.
Yeah. So we're going there on Monday, and we're launching Nashville. We've launched Memphis and Knoxville so far, and then we're launching Nashville on Monday.
What does the launch look like?
A launch is really interesting in alcohol. That's the other thing too. So like you kind of like we launched the whole distribution network, all of Tennessee, last November.
Okay.
And then what you do is you kind of like launch the brand, get into market. You kind of like help them pre-sell, get into it, and then when it kind of gets like you have a few stores, like say you have like I think we probably have around like 100 stores up there. Then we go in with the GSM and we kind of ramp things up from there. Like we're like, okay, now that you guys have tested it out, you see that it's working, you see like what to go after in your. Like we kind of go to every state, and every state in alcohol industry, everyone calls it a different country. There's completely different laws in every state.
Yeah.
I'm sure Utah's probably like the hardest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's like random ones that like you just wouldn't expect. Is like there's different laws in every single state. So it's like, hey, what are we going to do in this state that's working? Like New York is not going to be the same as Tennessee, and Florida's going to be way different. Like in Florida, we can sell in grocery.
Yeah.
In Tennessee, we can't sell anywhere near grocery.
Really? And grocery in Florida?
Yeah. And Florida's unique too because they still have liquor. Like you can't sell a bottle of vodka in grocery, but they were smart to create this law that if you're below 6% alcohol, you can sell whatever you want in our grocery platform.
Nice. Yeah, exactly.
So that was like really unique for us, and that was awesome for us to be like, hey, we can go into grocery here. And
everyone goes to Publix too.
Yeah, everyone goes to Publix.
So like how many stores in Jacksonville are you on shelves at right
Jacksonville's probably pushing like 200.
200?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Dude, that's sick.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And like a lot of it's that now, like the biggest thing for us in the last year was just getting a chain account is almost probably harder than getting a distribution.
Yeah.
And like just getting one domino to fall at a chain account is like the way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you talk about some numbers for 2023? Like what was your gross volume?
Our volume was around 10,000 cases.
Yep.
10,000 cases. So what
Yeah.
is that, like 40,000 cans?
10,000 cases is 24 cans in a case.
Okay, so 24. So you ship,
240,000 cans.
you
I
ship
get you,
multiple
yeah.
of these in a case.
So
Yeah.
Okay.
there's 6 4-packs in the case. So what is that? That's like
24
quarter of a million cans.
Yeah, 24 at 10,000. Yeah, it's 200, almost a quarter million cans.
almost 1 million cans. Yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
That's what we shipped, and yeah, that was awesome for us. And we had like we went into it with like I went into also with the mentality of everything I brought into other companies. Where all of our other companies we've launched are you can go 50 states right away. Like, you can launch an internet company. That's why I think go get your feet wet and like something else because you can launch a company and go international right away nowadays.
Yeah, exactly.
And not worry about it, not even think about it.
Yeah,
For us, it was like I think the biggest challenge was like coming from that mindset and being like, oh, we can only launch 2 states this year or 3 states this year. How do we do marketing when we don't want to spend national marketing, but we want to grow national? So that's like the biggest kind.
And when do we launch marketing? Because we can't launch marketing before we have it in stores. So then what is the proper distribution to spend the amount of marketing dollars on that distribution and that as well?
Yeah, the hardest challenge in alcohol is it really is the chicken before the egg.
Yeah.
So like
every single part
distribution.
of it.
Distribution wants you to have chain stores. Chain stores want you to have distribution. And like it's just like, and then like it's just great. And then they also want you to have marketing, but it's like, why would I market
if I don't
in the state when I don't have Publix?
Yeah.
Or when I don't have Winn-Dixie yet?
Yeah, exactly.
We just got Winn-Dixie, but it's just like, why do we like how are we gonna market when we don't have those? Because where are people gonna go? People are just gonna go get frustrated. They're gonna go to the store and be like, oh, I can't find this anywhere.
Yeah, I can't get it anywhere. Yeah. And then you've seen that with like some other brands that have not had the distribution capabilities, and people are like storming stores and stuff. It's just at that one location and stuff like that. How did you guys? I mean, I'm wearing the shirt right now. How did you guys get the in with the Jags? I know you said that was one of your better, marketing spends for here.
I feel like everything you do in the industry like comes back around. So like even our first co-packer, like finding us the tequila source, and then even the first guy we ever talked to in the space that liked the concept, but we just didn't go with him. But he was really cool. He was like, hey, I have this Jaguars opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm not really selling in Jacksonville. He's like, do you guys want it?
Yeah.
So he passed it along to us. We talked with them about a year, probably 2 years ago now, almost for the first time. And then we were like, hey, it doesn't make sense for us to do 2022, but it makes sense for us to do 2023. Like, talk to us then.
Yeah.
So that was kind of our way in, was just he kind of passed the baton to us.
Yeah.
And then in 2023, we just reached out and it was a long negotiation process because we wanted to get that partnership. We wanted to have it be worth it for us.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, thank God, like the Jacksonville community, I think they really get behind like local brands.
They do.
And they were like,
100%.
they definitely like, I would say they gave us like a really great deal that we like couldn't pass up.
Well, that's good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
huge.
if we go there on like an upcoming this next season to a Jags game, are you guys? Guys at,
we have
at the
2 bars there. We have 2
Okay.
bars in the stadium. We're also distributed a bunch throughout the stadium and all the bars pretty much. But even if you go to a concert, we're the main bar for Daly's Place, the Bluebird Bar.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're the Bluebird Bar downstairs. That's like that main bar for the Daly's Place concerts, which was kind of a strategy move too, because there's maybe like 6 or 7 home games.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's 60 concerts.
There's concerts there.
Yeah,
all the time.
so it's like let's get that bar.
Yeah.
Because that one's gonna be there while they're gonna go to the concerts, and like we can use that all year round.
So it's something we haven't even talked about yet, which I'm surprised we haven't. Bluebird. Where did that come from?
Yeah.
So Bluebird Day, obviously he grew up in Wyoming. I grew up in Southern California. So snowboarding, Bluebird Day is
Oh,
like.
you're talking to Mr. Snowboard.
Okay, so
here.
you,
I'm a huge
know what a
snowboarder.
Bluebird Day is.
Yeah, I know what a Bluebird
Yeah,
is.
exactly.
Exactly.
I was
So-
actually just, not to cut you off, I was just in Whistler like a couple weeks ago. I was there for like a week.
Did it get better?
How was it?
Dude, it was actually only like the bottom like 150 yards were bad. So I
Okay.
think people were just being dramatic, just to not have everyone out there.
Did you see the Christmas photos of it? And was it like raining?
It was
And it
raining.
like yeah.
But at the top it was snowing. But I'm about to go to Park City in a couple weeks too. So I love that stuff.
Have you ridden Jackson yet?
That's the only place I haven't gone.
That's like I don't want to be like I grew up there and I traveled, so I used to ski like almost professionally.
Yeah.
And now I snowboard. Actually, I shifted.
Yeah.
Just go surfing, but I used to ski so much, and I skied probably every resort in the U.S. Most of the ones in Canada.
Yeah.
Just for contests, and I swear Jackson is the best mountain
I've
by
heard.
far.
I've heard. Have you done Baker up in Washington?
Yeah, then Baker.
Yeah.
Like I would say, like my Baker's probably up there on my list. I love Big Sky now that they've expanded.
Yes.
Park City's always fun because it's got the
Park City's always fun.
canyons. Like I
Yes.
love the canyons. I always love competing there.
Have you done Telluride?
Yeah, Telluride. I've done. I really like There's one in Salt Lake. It's really popular.
Alta?
Alta's awesome. Keystone's awesome.
Right.
Copper Mountain's awesome.
Yeah.
What's the one like right outside of Salt Lake that's like really cool? It's like Steamboat, but
No, it's not Alta.
Have you been to Bridger Bowl?
yeah, I've been to Bridger Bowl.
Yeah.
You go to school up there?
No, I went there. My family had some property in Montana.
That's like the school up there that like everyone that's like the mountain closest to that that university. Yeah.
Yeah. It was at Montana State, I think.
Yeah, I think it's something like that.
Yeah.
Or is it Bridger Bowl? Yeah, maybe something like that.
It's right outside of like you fly right into what's that downtown right there in Montana? I can't. It's escaping my mind.
There's like
right
there's
now.
Missoula and there's something else. It's not Missoula though. It's
escaping my mind.
It's going to come to you tonight.
It will.
For sure.
Oh,
I
you
don't
said
know much
Bluebird.
about
Yeah, we can
that.
get
Bluebird.
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 Day.
Yeah.
I can talk about
Bluebird.
skiing all day long.
Real quick though, have you guys been to Big Bear, California?
I've heard of it.
Oh,
yeah.
it's legendary. Every single day, it's slushy in the middle of the day, and then by the end of the day, it's just rock hard ice. So
Nice.
highly recommend it.
I've never seen.
I'll rent a board and go.
There you
Yeah,
go.
Big Bear is.
It's a zoo. It's an absolute zoo. It's insane.
Drive to Mammoth if you live in LA.
for sure.
So you really just got the name just because Bluebird Day is your favorite days to go boarding?
Yeah, well,
I like
and
that.
a Bluebird Day is like the night before, right? It dumps a bunch of snow.
Yeah.
And then the next day you wake up, sunny blue skies, best day ever. So that's the idea behind this. You can have a storm of bluebirds with the boys, with the girls, whatever, and then wake up in the morning feeling better than you would drinking anything else.
Yeah,
Have a
hell
better
You can think of the
day.
concept we created, like when I was like, what would I want to drink before a Bluebird Day? Because we always celebrate. Like when you're out in the mountains, you're like, oh, I want to go have a drink with my friends and go celebrate. But if I drink beer, I'd be bloated and gassy for like 3 days, and I'd feel like
Yeah,
crap. I was
right.
like, I don't want to go ride today.
Right.
Yeah,
So you have
I just
like
feel
a
terrible.
fireball shooter in your
Or like
pocket.
you're ever
Yes.
like
But
at a
no,
bar with
you
your
have
friends, like,
this.
oh, we're gonna wake up and
Yes.
we're gonna be the first ones on the chair. We're gonna get in line at like 7 a.m.
Yeah.
And it like never happens because you guys got like
Too
too
messed
drunk. It's
up
like
about it.
this is what you want to drink before a Bluebird Day.
Yeah,
as well.
exactly.
Like, this is
Dude,
like-
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna bring a whole case of these whenever I go out there in a couple weeks.
yeah, that'd be cool.
Absolutely.
do
Absolutely.
it.
We'll have to integrate it into our drinking cycle.
For sure. You got to try the vodkas too.
Wait,
Oh,
we
let's
get
do
vodka
it.
and we're gonna do whiskey. We'll do that on
Yeah,
camera.
let's do it. Let's do it.
Which
We
one you wanna do?
got,
Vodka?
let's do vodka and then we'll do whiskey.
Cool. All right, boys.
All right.
Cheers.
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 Smooth. It's like
That-
water with it's like a hint of it. Like I could chug this if I wanted to,
The
but I'm
tequila
not.
one,
But
you can really
Yeah.
taste
Yeah.
the tequila. The vodka one, it's like
When this is ice cold, it just tastes like water.
it literally
That's the
just
goal.
tastes like water. Like
Yeah.
you almost can't even like you're
Yeah.
like I'm not drinking alcohol right now. I'm hydrated.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
I like that.
Like a lot of bars will serve that with a lemon slice, so it's like it's almost like a lemon water. You can't even.
Do you request like the
Yeah.
bars to serve that?
Like
for
that,
For
you?
yeah.
sure. With the
Yeah.
tequila, we tell them just throw a lime in there. It's like drinking a Corona.
Yeah.
Like just
Yeah.
throw a lime in there. But if you add a lime to that, then you get the world's skinniest margarita.
That's what
So
we
I
call
like
it.
There
that.
you go.
What about like local bars that you guys are served at?
So we're at Bricks. We're gonna be in
Bricks has been our
Pete's.
best partner, I would say.
Really?
Bricks has been awesome over the football season as well. Everybody, we're doing a bunch of bucket specials and everything like that. And then we're going to be in a bunch more the local T-dubs over there, and then a couple on the beach over at a couple of the hotels as well. Salt. And then hopefully the Rec and Pete soon as well.
You can get
Nice.
Pete's. That'd be
You gotta get
huge.
Pete's.
It's a big one. That's a big one. That's yeah,
Or Surfer.
You'll get it.
For
You'll get
sure.
it. You'll definitely
Yeah.
get it.
for sure.
Y'all
And
wanna
then those are the same owners too. Now,
Yeah.
Yes.
if you break into one, you get both. Essentially,
Yes.
We've been in there before.
Yes.
The owners are hard to work with.
I wanna
Full
know-
disclosure.
I wanna know this
let me
whiskey one real
let me
quick.
try a whiskey one.
Bobby listens
Is
to
there
this.
is there a
That's his
cold?
name.
Here, honestly,
is there
I
a
have
cold
one right
whiskey
here.
one
I
in there?
just want to try this one.
Yeah, I want to try a cold.
So
whiskey.
think of this
you
one
guys
as
have been
like
talking big on this one. I'm like
think
really
of this one as an
excited for this.
unsweet twisted tea. Is what I've
Okay.
been telling people.
An unsweet twisted tea.
I like
Yes.
that. I like the
Honestly,
whiskey.
I did not drink a lot of twisted tea in college. I was not a big
Okay.
twisted tea guy.
But whiskey's my drink. Like I love whiskey,
Yeah.
especially on the mountain. Like
Yeah,
whiskey's like warms you up.
Whiskey was my drink too, and I was like, the biggest thing for me when I thought of the concept was like, I want to drink my whiskey.
Really? Huh?
Yeah, what do you think?
I like that.
Get a close up on that one.
Get a close up. I like that.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
How often do you drink whiskey?
I would say at like a nice dinner, I love a good old fashioned or like a whiskey
Yeah.
on the rocks or something like that.
Yeah.
That was like me. I love whiskey in the rocks, and I was like, I want to go to the golf course and drink my whiskey in the rocks without the additives.
Yeah.
And then just like drink it at the light beer level.
Right.
I would definitely agree with what you guys said before. Like I was like a little apprehensive. I'm like, whiskey and just
in a
like
can
water.
with water. Yeah, but that's perfect.
Dude, that's good.
Good stuff, right?
I like it. I like
really
it
good.
a lot.
Very cool. Yeah. And like I said, this is just like, I don't know. I think this would take over every single light beer because once everybody gets over it, like, again, no health advice or anything here, right? But my uncle, he was severely overweight, drinking way too much beer. Yeah. And his doctor was telling him, like, listen, I would suggest just not drinking, but if you are going to, which he is, just drink vodka and water. Just drink a clear alcohol and just drink water. No sugar. Yes. And I was like, okay, I'm definitely going to say that on a podcast one day.
Yeah. Does he drink this now?
Yes, he does.
Has he lost weight?
Yes.
Nice.
And so, yeah, absolutely. So he just feels better and all that kind of stuff.
It's like you're promoting a healthy lifestyle but having fun with it.
Yeah, like the whole concept really is like I hated drinking because I had FOMO. Like I would miss a surf session, or I would even go to the beach and I wouldn't want to drink with my friends because I just wanted to go surf. Or, like, I was the kind of guy that if I drank a beer, if my day was ruined.
Yeah.
I got a headache if I drank a White Claw at the end of the day or anything during the day. And I was like, alcohol with me was. I had like a third of my friend group that had that kind of relationship with alcohol, and I think nowadays you see it people like going to the non-alcohol side, or like they're kind of like going back and forth. It's like this is kind of that in between where it's like you can live a productive lifestyle, but like still have like fun with your friends.
Dude, I like that so much because I also like I'm not a drinker sometimes, but I hate being hungover.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like I will sometimes not drink because I'm like, I don't want tomorrow to feel like, I don't want to feel like I don't have like my day. You know what I mean?
You guys run a company too. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
It's like if you're not at the top of like your game, you're just like, it's like
my day's a wash.
Yeah.
You guys understand too because you're the same age as us. You're running a company. You want to be successful. You want to show up every single day during the week. But like you're 25. You want to go out on
and most of your friends are working a job where they can show up hungover.
Exactly.
So like, and I was like, I want to build a brand for people that are like, I want to go surf. I want to go make my 7 a.m. spin class.
Exactly.
And it was like we realized when we started this brand, it was like we created alcohol space not having the ingredients. There's so much crap that they put in it that gives you those hangovers. Like you can actually like have alcohol, not be hungover. Again, we're not saying it doesn't, but it does. Like we've tested. I've had 18 in one night and I'm not getting hungover.
Wow.
We had to put it to the test.
Yeah, you have to.
You have to.
Yeah.
What awesome. I got a question before we wrap everything up though. But what would you tell someone that's like trying to get into your area of this field that's maybe 16, 17, 18, seeing what you're doing? Like what is like some advice you would give them?
Or maybe just entrepreneurship.
Or just entrepreneurship in general. Maybe not even. Maybe they don't want to start a.
I think I mean I really don't like the way college and schools are teaching nowadays. Of like I remember I was in business school and they were like, these are the top 10 companies to work for. I was like, I think in your 20s you should take a chance. Like
100%.
Go work for a startup. Like at least do that, or go try to start something on the side. You can start a company in a weekend online now. So go start there, I think, and like don't be afraid to fail. And just like every time you fail, it's like it should be seen as like a success.
Yeah. What about you?
What about you, Trevor?
I would say that exactly. If you, when not
when
if,
there you go.
When you fail on just one little small thing, it's like learn and adapt as quickly as possible. Write everything down on what you learned on every single thing. I think there's a lot of power of putting pen to paper and like getting your thoughts out and looking at it every day. Whatever your goals are, write them down, look at them, and then just basically every single moment of running the business is there's a right way to go and there's a wrong way to go. Sometimes the wrong way to go ends up being the right way down the road. Yeah. So it's just like you have a choice every single situation that you get yourself into. So just like weigh the good versus the bad and then just make your decision based off of that. And go with your gut a lot more. Don't listen to anybody. They don't know what they're doing either. They're just thinking, like even me, I'm telling you what to do, but I don't know what I'm doing either. So just like know that for everybody that you talk to.
I think that's like you look at big entrepreneurs, like a lot of them didn't go to college, or a lot of big businessmen, and it's true. Like it's because like everything's common sense based. It's like as long as you trust what you believe in, like if you go to an Anheuser-Busch distributor and they maybe had years of experience on you, if you just come to them with like a common sense plan, and it's your plan, and you can stand in front of this table with you guys, and I can say this is why we're doing X. That's all you gotta do, and just like stick to your gut, and just like don't be like, oh, this guy knows more than what I know. It's just like I think go in there and be like, if you have a good plan, they're gonna listen to you, and like if it's based in some common sense, like kind of like way, then they're gonna listen to you.
Dude, I'm gonna change up my answer. You're gonna change it.
Change
whatever you want to do, and whatever if you need somebody to do something for you, make it as easy as possible for them to green light whatever you're doing.
I like that.
Like come with a solid plan. Just be like, hey, this is what it's going to do for you. And I have already thought about all of this. Is there anything else that you could add
An
to
actionable plan that's common sense and
just like,
benefits both parties.
Yes.
Yeah, and don't complicate it. People will have like, oh, like our plan is 48 slides. Their plan needs to be 3 slides.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if somebody is interested in getting in contact with either of you or buying Bluebird Hardwater, where do they need to go?
Go to our website. We have our emails on our website, and we have like a little info one, but also my email is just will@bluebirdhardwater.com. Reach out to me there.
And mine is Trevor@bluebirdhardwater.com.
And we have a store locator, so you can go to our store locator and find everywhere we're sold.
That's on your website.
Yeah, it's on our website.
Locator.
Yeah,
and
bluebirdhardwater.com.
All the tags at Bluebird Hardwater.
Yeah, follow them on Instagram, please.
Yeah,
follow them on Instagram. Check out, shout out the socials.
All of our socials are Bluebird Hardwater, so you can go find us there at Bluebird Hardwater.
Pretty easy to find. And if you are in the Jacksonville area and you have the pleasure of running into these two, definitely give them their recognition for how much hard work they've put in an incredible brand.
Buy them a drink.
Buy them a Bluebird at the bar if the bar serves it. And thank you guys so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate it. And, as always, Journey Up Entrepreneur's Guide. I'm Bryce.
I'm Brylen.
And we got Trevor and Will here. And for this one, I'm going to go outro with Drink a Bluebird.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Cheers.
That was fun.